I am going to continue with this book, Ketotarian, and we are going into chapter 1. Chapter 1 was another amazing chapter, very similar as far as quality of content as the introduction. So if you are reading along, I hope you feel the same way, and let me know your comments below. So the ketogenic diet, it just is going to talk about in chapter 1 what the basics are of the keto diet, and why you're doing this or why we're doing this. So not all low carb diets are called ketogenic. A lot of times ketogenic gets mislabeled or is misunderstood because of the assumptions that it's a low carb diet and that's all it is. And that's not true. And it's also not a high protein diet. So low carb and it's high fat. It's very important to have that high fat. And that's what gets us into our fat burning stage and fat burning mode called ketosis. So check this out. It says he has keto principle number 1, shift from sugar to fat to fuel your body more powerfully. And then it talks about sugar, and it says Americans eat an average of 765 grams of sugar every 5 days. And so that equates to the average American eating and drinking an extra 130 pounds of added sugar every year. Think about that. That's an entire person that we're consuming, or the American society is consuming every year. So when we consume sugar, sugar is not just the refined sugars that we're used to hearing about, or things that are actually called sugar. So sugar in your body and glucose in your body is anything that comes from carbohydrates. And glucose is the easiest energy source for your body to break down, which is why we live on glucose, or why a lot of us live on glucose. Now, then there's insulin. So this took a while to learn and understand. And so when you consume glucose, or when you consume carbs, then what happens is, or really when you consume any food, your insulin is reacting to it, and it's there to make sure that your body is cleared of all the glucose, and it's making sure that your system is cleaned out. And so if there's a lot of sugar in your bloodstream, then insulin is there to kill it and to use it up, to get rid of it as quickly as it possibly can, because high blood sugar is toxic. So Dr. Cole goes into talking about once the sugar that's in your bloodstream, if it's not burned off, then it's stored as fat around your liver and stomach and as circulating fat called triglycerides. And so this is where it's counterintuitive, because a lot of us think that eating fat means that's how you're going to get fat, when really it's the excess glucose that stays in your body that's not burned up that gets stored as fat. So even though glucose is the most effective, or not effective, but the most easy form of energy for your body to fuel, burning fat is a lot more of an efficient fuel source for your metabolism. When you lower your carbs, it lowers your blood sugar and insulin levels, because your insulin doesn't need to respond the way it does when there's a lot of glucose going around. So, and then he says, as insulin levels normalize and energy is needed, fatty acids flow from the fat cells into the bloodstream and metabolized by your body in a process called beta oxidation. The result of beta oxidation is a molecule, and he goes into the scientific back end of this. But essentially, this process is called a metabolic feedback loop, which tells your liver cells to use the molecule that's produced for ketogenesis, or the making of ketone bodies. So ketogenesis is just the making of ketone bodies. The liver then puts the ketone bodies into your bloodstream and fuels your body. So the keto diet, he says, is not about starving your body of food. It's about allowing your body to be in a better metabolic state. There's 3 different types of ketone bodies that are created. And then when your blood sugar and insulin levels are low and healthy, ketones supply the majority of your energy required by your brain and body, and that is your primary fuel source now. And so that is nutritional ketosis. That is where you want to get to. Health benefits of ketosis are weight loss, increased energy, mental clarity, better blood pressure, improved acne and skin problems, lower inflammation throughout the body, curbed food cravings, reduced, if not eliminated, seizures in most people with epilepsy, lowered risk of some cancers, reversed or improved symptoms of PCOS, which is polycystic ovary syndrome, and improved, if not reversed, type 2 diabetes. So I can tell you for sure that there's, for me, mental clarity and weight loss was huge. Not to mention when you have those things happening, then your personal confidence goes through the roof. Just overall health is better. Energy levels are way up. It makes a huge difference in your life. So for us and for me, that was a big part of ketosis, and why ketosis switched from being a diet to lose weight to a lifestyle is because all of a sudden I was seeing these other benefits that were far greater than just the weight loss. The weight loss was great, but it was just kind of this, it was kind of a side effect or a secondary benefit, even though it was the first reason I got started. We eat food and then we get hungry, right? And this is a normal process. Everybody goes through it. But normally, it's pretty common. Let's say it's common, not normal. It's common for people to feel hangry, right? That term is pretty widely used. So that means you're hungry and you're angry or you're irritable because you're hungry. So that what's happening there is when your blood sugar is dropping drastically and now your blood sugar is really low. Well, because you're not in a state of ketosis, your body is asking for more energy. It needs something else to run on. So that's why you have to eat more sugar or more carbs in order to get your blood sugar up quickly so that you can relieve that hunger. So in this section by Dr. Cole, he talks about 50% of us as Americans are now either pre-diabetic or have full-blown type 2 diabetes. So that's 1 out of 2 of us. That's a huge percentage of people in this country that are suffering from a blood sugar problem. And what he says is just because something is common doesn't mean it's normal. So just because we hear about it from our neighbor and from the people around us doesn't mean that this is a normal state of being that your body should be in. So insulin resistance is at the core of blood sugar problems. And the main topic here, or the main thing that he says, is all foods stimulate insulin production to some extent. The main culprits are sugar and carbs, and to a lesser degree protein, but they're the key drivers of insulin spikes. If you eat healthy fats but don't limit your carbs and even your protein, your insulin and glucose levels can still be too high and you won't reap the benefits of keto eating. So if you're still consuming carbs and you're consuming high fat, it's not going to matter that your body has that high fat because it's going to burn off the glucose first. One, because it's toxic, so your body looks at it as a toxin, so your insulin is going to respond to that. And then also because it's easy. It's super easy for your body to process the sugar. Okay, so keto principle number 2, fat is your friend. So here is where a lot of people get freaked out because it's, oh my gosh, if you're eating that much fat, then you're going to have super high cholesterol, you're going to clog your arteries, you're going to have heart disease. And just because you consume cholesterol and saturated fat, that does not mean you're going to have heart disease. So healthy fats are essential for your cellular health. Your brain is your fattest body part. So think about that. Your brain is 60% fat. Isn't that crazy? Like, it's a strong muscle. It's a muscle we can train, but it's 60% fat. So making sure that you're feeding your brain fat. Otherwise, you're starving it of what it is. Eating a diet in healthy fats, you're building up pathways of communication throughout your body. So from your brain to the rest of your cells, you're building up healthy pathways. If you don't have enough fat in your diet, then those pathways get blocked and broken down, and that's where a lot of brain fog can happen. That's where a lot of other issues can happen because your body's just not going to respond. So if you get into nutritional ketosis, right, then you get more balanced in your body, and you're going to reduce your inflammation and just lower overall stress on your immune system. So you're going to feel better. You're going to be healthier. You're not going to get as sick as frequently. So yeah, that's it. There's a lot of benefits besides just the weight loss that a lot of people get started on keto for. So there's a large section in here about healthy fats and unhealthy fats, and essentially be careful with the polyunsaturated fats, and then also avoid trans fat entirely. Trans fat is also known as partially hydrogenated oil. So if you're looking at labels, it might not say trans fat, but look and make sure it doesn't say partially hydrogenated oils. Otherwise, that is what it translates to. Monounsaturated fats are good for you. Saturated fats are good for you. So make sure you're getting enough consumption of those too. Then there's a section about cholesterol and your lab results. And so what he says is that generally when we take lab tests, that you're given your lab results and it's numbers, and doctors and people that are reading your lab results don't necessarily go into what those numbers mean. But the quality of a total cholesterol panel is so much more important than just looking at a total cholesterol and saying, okay, if it's over 200, then it's bad, right? So he says that the research shows that saturated fat like coconut oil seem to improve the quality of cholesterol in your body, but also it increases the quantity. So if you have a high total cholesterol, but you also consume a lot of coconut oil, then it's not necessarily saying that there's something wrong, versus if you're eating fats that are not good for you and your cholesterol is over 200. So the last section that I'm going to talk about today are the 5 different types of keto. And the first one is the standard ketogenic diet. It's low carb, it's high fat, and moderate protein. And you want to just stick with those macros. That's the most important part of it. Then there's the high protein ketogenic diet. And this is not necessarily really high protein, but instead of it being in the 20% protein range, you're going up to 30 to 35%. Protein range. So it's almost doubling what's in a standard ketogenic diet, but it's not overall a high protein diet. Cyclic ketogenic diet, it's a 5-day of standard keto diet and then 2 carb loading days. And so this is going to be for extreme athletes and bodybuilders that the premise is to replenish the glycogen stores in your muscles that can be lost during really heavy working out and bodybuilding. The targeted ketogenic diet, this is when you consume all your carbs 30 minutes before a workout. So you know that your body's going to burn the carbs first. It's going to burn the glucose first, and it's going to burn it really fast when you're exercising. So if you can eat your carbs and then go exercise, then all of a sudden you can burn up those carbs. So you could have enjoyed them if you need them, and then, or if you desire them, and then you can get right back into ketosis and burning on fuel, or burning on fat as your fuel. And then the last one is the restricted ketogenic diet. This is a ketogenic diet mixed with intermittent fasting. So, and it definitely has a very low carb component of it. So it's even lower carbohydrate, but you're going to do intermittent fasting within your diet. So there are multiple ways to do intermittent fasting. That's a whole video on its own. But these are different approaches to the ketogenic diet that all lead you to a very similar response as far as how your body is going to run on fat instead of on glucose. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you are enjoying this book. Let me know if you have questions or if you want to delve into one of the topics a little deeper, and we can do that. Talk to you later. Bye.